The Finley Project really helped me with the counseling because I didn't have anyone at the time.
Now at 9:42, a story that really tugs on so many heartstrings. We're hearing about a local woman. She lost her little baby and then began a nonprofit. This is a way that she could help others, parents who are grieving like her.
No one plans for their child to die.
How the Finley Project helps to alleviate stress for parents so they can mend their broken hearts.
In this week's Community Champion, we're introducing you to the woman who started a nonprofit after experiencing the greatest loss of her life back in 2013.
The Finley Project is helping grieving mothers here in Central Florida and nationwide after the devastating loss of a baby.
Everything you had planned for, everything that you'd already laid out, it's like gone. The nursery is set up and now you won't get to take her home. The childcare you had set up for a few months later, you no longer need. All the things you'd already planned for are like no longer going to happen, and having to wrap your head around that is just absolutely devastating.
A mother's sorrow that never truly goes away. Noelle Moore Fernandez is the founder and executive director of the Finley Project, named after her baby girl Finley, who she never got to take home.
So the emergency C-section happened and Finley was put on life support, and it was over those weeks and days of her being on life support that they were starting to tell us that she may never have a quality of life.
After 4 weeks on life support, Noelle had to make a heartbreaking decision, and Finley took her last breath.
I just remember gathering with friends and family and then having to leave her there. Like, how do you leave your child there?
When Noelle got home, the loss was too great to bear. A few months earlier, Noelle's father had passed, and after Finley, her marriage didn't make it.
And I knew I needed help because I was in such a bad place.
Noelle went to weekly counseling, a grief support group, and eventually was connected with another mother who lost an older child. But she felt it wasn't enough, so the Finley Project was born. Noelle created a 7-part holistic healing program. It includes everything from counseling to cleaning your home.
No one plans for their child to die, and so funeral planning. Nobody knows how to plan a child for a funeral, so we help actually plan the funeral. We provide meal gift cards or meal delivery services for families.
The Finley Project has brought comfort to more than 500 families nationwide, 350 of them in Central Florida. Taylor and Kara know the importance of Finley's legacy. Both mothers lost their children, Benjamin and Liam, unexpectedly.
It truly, truly changed my life. I knew that I had others who I could lean on, who understood why I was so angry and sad.
And to have other people who talk about my Liam and use his name and share his stories and love his pictures and give me an outlet to talk about him. It's literally everything.
In addition to hosting mothers' breakfasts and get-togethers like this one, where I got to meet these amazing parents, the Finley Project also launched a men's group. Joe lost his son Berkeley after just 6 months. The Finley Project helped alleviate some of the pain, and he wants the community to know this service is out there.
My name is Wendy Higa, and there was never a question as to whether or not I wanted to be a mother. It was just something I knew I wanted to be. It was something that I was just waiting for the right time. Eventually we did get pregnant. Unfortunately, we found out really early on that it was an ectopic pregnancy. And after that, it took us another really long time to conceive. We found out we were pregnant with Lucy. We were just overwhelmed with joy and gratitude to have had the opportunity to try to be parents again. I, due to previous things from when I was younger, would have never been able to carry a pregnancy without a cerclage. And we ultimately lost Lucy at 24 weeks because I just was in so much pain I didn't know, and it was at that point we found out that she didn't have a heartbeat. We were about 24 weeks. We went and delivered her after yet another round of trauma. They couldn't take us right away, and I was scheduled, it was Monday that I had found out in the morning. I was scheduled to go Tuesday at 12, and that Monday evening at about 7 p.m. I went to the restroom, and she was there. So she came at home. She was born still. We went to the hospital. I finished delivery in triage. I finally got a room. I almost had to have emergency surgery because second trimester losses are very unnatural, and I didn't understand what they were telling me. I didn't understand why this was happening to me. She never made it into this world, but she has certainly made such an impact in mine, and I'm so lucky that I found this organization to help me through this incredibly life-changing time, and to still have the support of them as life continues to change.
So my name is Adam Sharugi, and my wife is Raven Sharugi, a Finley mom. And we met at least 5-6 years ago living in Chicago. And I was able to drag Raven down here to Florida when I relocated for work. And I actually proposed to her the day after she moved in. She made that commitment to me, so I was ready to make that commitment to her. And we were really excited to start that journey together. And then we got married in the spring of 2022, and it was everything we had dreamed of. Had the perfect partner, had the perfect wedding, and now we were ready to start the perfect life together. And we bought a house that year as well, and immediately started to work on having a family. And we actually, the first pregnancy we had ended in a miscarriage, so that was a little shocking. Never thought something like that would happen to us. You know, you kind of hear about it, but it's not really talked about that much. So we dealt with that, and it was hard, but we got through it. And then we found out we were pregnant again the following year, and everything was better than it was before. All the doctor appointments were checking out. Everything was great, and we were so excited because we want nothing more than to be parents. I've always wanted to have a family. Growing up in my family, I've always wanted that, and I know Raven did as well. So we were just really excited. And then about 20 weeks into it, all of a sudden Raven had some complications, so we went to the hospital, and that's when we found out that she was actually going into early labor, and there was really nothing they could do about it. It was the hardest thing to have to hear when 3-4 doctors come into the room and tell you that. Basically tell you you're gonna have to just go through the process, and you don't know if the baby's gonna come out dead or if it's gonna come out alive. So the remainder of that day we were just in the hospital waiting, and then finally the next morning around 3 o'clock she had our son. It was just the two of us in our room together. The doctors and nurses weren't even in there at the time. And you know, it's just hard to explain the emotions that you're feeling, what's going through your mind, and there's so much going on. And you know, he did come out alive, but we were told that he was not going to stay alive because he was too small for any instruments. And we were able to spend a little bit of time with him while he was alive. And then Raven had to go in for surgery, and that was just a whole nother thing that was, you know, weighing on me and on us, and you know, was concerned more for her at that time. But she was fine after that, and then our son had passed away, but we were still able to see him after and spend some time with him, and that's the story. So we were, once we were finally released from the hospital, it was a Saturday, we got home. Luckily we had some family there at the house to support us and be with us. It was really difficult. I remember you couldn't even think about anything. You're just kind of like a walking zombie at that point. There's so many emotions going through and you don't really know how you're going to continue on with your normal life, your normal days. And I think it was the next morning we woke up and we were struggling and Raven was really struggling. And I remember she looked at me and she was like, I need help. And I remember one of our doctors in the hospital telling us about the Finley project. So I looked it up and I found a phone number on the website and I called it, and really by the grace of God, Noelle answered it. And I think she was actually expecting another call, but I was able to get her on the phone and she was able to talk with Raven, and I think that's really what started to, not that we started experience healing right away at that point, but it started to turn things for us. We were starting to see maybe there was going to be a light at the end of the tunnel once Raven was able to connect with Noelle and we were able to get the next steps moving forward.
I think after, going through the experience we've had in our tragic loss, the Finley Project has been such a, a lifeline to us. After our loss and really getting that lifeline from the Finley Project, I think two of the biggest resources that have really helped me through this process have been both the support and counseling that we received, but also the support of my support mom. Really finding and having somebody to go through this journey with you. I think when I think of the Finley Project, I think of, three things come to mind for me is, purpose, healing, and really strength. They really give you that opportunity and show you what it's like to live again as a mom and pair you with such good people like my support mom that has helped me get through this loss that I've never imagined we would experience. I remember when we first met in a coffee shop right after our loss, and I remember looking at Wendy and just telling her how I don't know how I was going to get through this. I don't know how to continue to live or to continue to think about anything else and the experience that we had just had. I remember her looking at me and just saying, "You will be okay. I will be right with you." And I remember her taking my hand in that time and sharing that, although we were connected through the loss of both of our little ones, that she felt even more connected to me, knowing that, she felt closer to her daughter doing this and taking on the support of myself, which I'll forever be grateful for.
Adam, what does it mean to watch your wife have support?
It means the world. It's one of those things where as the husband, you feel like you've failed in your job because I was not able to protect Raven from what we went through, and there was really no way for me to fix it. But through the Finley Project and through her support mom, Wendy, I didn't have, that burden was lifted off of me. I didn't have to save everything. She got everything she needed from the Finley Project and from Wendy, and I was just able to be there to support her at home. And it helped me a lot too. Seeing the community, hearing the stories, knowing that we weren't the only ones out there, and meeting some of the fellow dads as well, and seeing that side of the community, it's meant everything to us.
Barry, and I have wanted to be a mom since I was my earliest memory of being 4 years old. I was always the mom to my dolls. I always played house. I always played mom. I remember being, even in elementary school, riding up and down my bike, the street on my bike, and pretending like I was a carpool mom, and I was dropping off my imaginary kids to soccer practice. Like, it was just, from the moment I was a little girl, it was a dream. And then when I had Liam, that dream came true.
many, many, many years later. Liam was born after a very long 5-day labor by C-section, completely unplanned, completely not the way we imagined, and just perfect. Like, it wasn't what I imagined, and it was the most perfect. He came out smiling. Like, I know they say babies don't smile, but he came out smiling. He had red hair, and you can kind of see it in the pictures in the hospital. Like, he had like a little red fuzz to his hair and a twinkle in his eyes. And a year and a half later, we had his little sister, and he was coming into his own as a big brother, although he was starting to get to the age where he just was not wanting to share his toys, but he loved her. He'd always call her baby, and they were very, very, very close in age. But he never called her by her name. He always called her baby, and I thought that was so funny. You know, we did everything together. I worked, but part-time, because I was mostly a stay-at-home mom with the kids. I worked 1 day a week, and the other 6 days I was with my babies. And you know, I couldn't imagine it any other way. And then one day everything changed. One day I went into work, a normal day. I worked in a ICU at a local trauma center. And so I had to be at work really, really early. I got up, I got ready. I always tried to be as quiet as possible, but I always peeked in on the babies before I left. And Liam was sleeping in his bed, and I could see him, and I wanted to go in and kiss him goodbye. I can't even explain to you why that day I felt the need. Something called me in there to go give him a hug or a kiss or just something, but I was so afraid of waking him up that I didn't do it. And later that day, while I was at work, it's so funny how things stick out to you. I can remember what room I was in, what patient I was taking care of. I can tell you everything from that day that I normally wouldn't be able to tell you, but just that sequence sticks with you. I got a call at work that actually the house supervisor for the hospital came looking for me, and I knew something wasn't right. And she told me that something happened at your house and one of your children is at our hospital. So where I worked, there are 3 hospitals all within walking distance. And she told me security was gonna come pick me up and bring me to the hospital. But all I had to hear was that one of my kids was at another hospital, and I screamed. I don't know why. I didn't even know what happened. I just knew for them to be getting me, it probably wasn't good. And so myself and actually one of my coworkers, we walked across the street to the children's hospital. And when I got there, you know, it's so funny working in healthcare, I never put 2 and 2 together. I didn't understand the gravity of the situation. I was met by a chaplain. And you don't think about it. You're just like, okay, all right, what's going on? No one would tell me what was happening. And then they led me to the trauma doors, and they said, "Are you ready?" I thought maybe like one of the kids had broken their arms. You know, like that's how I rationalized. I thought for sure Liam had pushed Katie off the couch, housing. Like, just being babies, I thought maybe he'd accidentally like pushed her off the couch and it was a broken arm and no big deal. And when I got there and I said, "Well, what's going on?" And they said, "It's your son," I was completely shocked. Because I even said, "Where's the baby?" And then they told me that something had happened at my house, that there was an incident, and that they had been called, the police had been called in, and my EMS had been called, and that it was my son that was in the hospital. And then they opened the trauma bay doors and they were coding him. At that point, a doctor came up to me and she said to me, "Mama, we knew you were one of us, and we knew you needed to see this, but we have been working on your son for 45 to 50 minutes, and these are his vitals." And they showed me the screen, and to this day, I couldn't tell you what they said. I just knew enough to know that if it had been 45 to 50 minutes and he wasn't coming back, he wasn't coming back. So I told him to stop. And that was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to say. At that point, you know, after I lost Liam, you don't know what else to do. You just go home. Like, it's like I went to work one day and I had 2 happy, healthy children, and I went home to 1. And I just remember sitting on the couch the first couple days, and just, his bedroom was right off the living room, and I would just sit there and wait for him. Because it felt like any minute he was just gonna come out of his room. It didn't feel real. It just didn't. I still had 2 car seats in the back of my car. It didn't feel real. Like, it just felt like he was staying with a friend. He was at a friend's house, someone was watching him. Like, I mean, it's just such a haze. Like, it's just such a fog, like trying to think back to how we got through those first even couple weeks. I don't know. At the same time of losing my son, I left my job and my marriage. It was a lot of change all at once. It was the entire world flipped upside down all at once. And someone somewhere somehow told me about the Finley Project. And I remember going online and I was like, I don't know. I reached out on the website. I read the website. It was everything. You know, like, it's when you lose a child, it's the loneliest place. You are surrounded by so many people, but also no one at the same time, because no one knows what, and not that you want them to either, but no one knows what you're going through. So you're surrounded by so many people that want to help, but it's still a really lonely place. And just seeing the whole healing process that was offered through the Finley Project, I was thankful that it was recommended to me, and I applied, and it was a game changer. It was a lifesaver. It really was a lifesaver, because everything had changed. Not just the loss of my child, the loss of a job that I loved, the loss of my marriage, which is why the counseling was so important to me. I would never, ever, ever have gotten through any of it without the counseling. That was huge. That was so huge. I was paired with the greatest therapist. I don't think I could have had anyone better in my corner. She helped me work through so much. I mean, more than the loss of my child, she helped me work through the loss of my identity, my life, my family, everything. And then I started slowly coming to the events, and I got to meet the other moms. And that's like the best community you could ever imagine. The support you get through the other moms in the community that you wouldn't have without the Finley Project. I would not know these girls, these strong, beautiful women, without the sisterhood that the Finley Project brought me. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine a life where I don't have people that understand the gut-wrenching pain that we went through. For those of you here tonight, I cannot put into words how much this organization means to not only me, but the other moms whose life has been touched by the Finley Project. What it has given us, a sense of belonging when you feel like you don't belong, and it has given us the ability to have a family in each other.
I know now that my purpose is to save women's lives, save families' lives. I always prayed when when she was in the hospital that she'd be a world changer. So I think she still is.
Her mom is.
Yeah.
And joining us now is Noelle Moore Fernandez, the founder and executive director of the Finley Project. Noelle, I'm sorry, tearing up already. It was just such a wonderful pleasure to meet you. Congratulations for being a community champion and for just sharing your story.
Absolutely.
So take me through this. World changer, community champion, but this was such a difficult process for you, but you have just healed beautifully, and I know it's something you still go through every day. As you can tell, this was a difficult interview just for me. So I'm gonna let you kind of take it over for a second, but just please tell us the journey right now, where you are in the journey, and just honoring your daughter, Finley.
Yeah. So every day I feel is a gift to get to honor the little life that she led, and to be able to watch women come from such extreme grief to then be able to heal and have hope makes her death worth something to me. And so that's why I'm very honored to be here today to be able to celebrate that.
Well, we're so happy to share this story and for you to be a community champion, and just the families that I met that day. Take us through when you've met so many over the years, 500. What that means to you, that what happened all those years ago, how that's now impacting these families here in Central Florida.
I am so honored to be able to provide something for them, because when you go through such a tragedy and you feel so alone, to be able to walk with somebody that can get it and can help you walk through all the things you have to navigate through, to me, that's this whole story. That's what this is all about. Coming around a mom and a family and helping them navigate.
Which is just what every parent and dads need too. Amazing to see. I know you have so many mothers' luncheons and breakfasts, but now you've also launched a dad's group, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah. It's definitely something that's been needed, and we're honored once again to be able to provide a new opportunity for dads just to get together and share and collaborate and brainstorm and figure out how to help each other.
Excellent. So I guess just the last question here. What do you think Finley would think of everything you've done since she's passed?
As my little girl, I think she's very proud of her mom. I think she's very proud of the families and the other mommies that are brave enough to get the help that they need.
Absolutely. Noelle, thank you so much for joining us. I so appreciate it. And congratulations again on being a community champion and just sharing your story and sharing Finley's story.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.